Hi everyone, welcome back. In prior tutorials we discussed event markers, what they are, also warp markers, and we talked about how to add them to an audio clip, how to remove them, and how to move each of those marker types inside of an audio clip. In this tutorial we're going to talk about 3 different ways that we can actually manipulate the audio using warp markers. Okay, now you've learned how to move, delete, and add warp markers and event markers. Let's talk about how to use those warp markers in this case to manipulate your audio. Pro Tools gives us 3 separate ways to manipulate our audio using warp markers. They are the telescoping warp, accordion warp, and the range warp. I feel like the first 2, the accordion warp and the telescoping warp, really aren't that useful, but the range warp is a form of warping that I use regularly on a variety of instruments and tracks. The first type of warping I wanted to discuss is telescoping warping. All right, so with telescoping warping, you need to have 2 locations or 2 markers placed in your audio. As soon as I click on this audio, it automatically places a marker there right at the front of our audio. So now we've got one, and then we'll double click here and add a second one. So we have a stationary point and a point that we're going to move. So if I grab this now and move it to the right, what you'll see is that this audio stretches to fill the new space, and all the audio from here over remains constant. So if I move like this and go out 1 additional quarter note, you'll see that it still remains consistent time-wise. So we can telescope this out as far as we want. When it goes red like that, that's just telling you that it's exceeded the boundaries at which Pro Tools thinks that audio is going to sound good. So you can see that we can just telescope out the audio by having 1 stationary point and 1 warp marker that we are moving. Now we can also telescope in the other direction as well. So if we wanted this point to remain stationary and we wanted to move everything from here to the left, we could do that as well. So now we're telescoping to the left. So everything is remaining constant from here to the right, and from here to the left, and what is being expanded or contracted is this material in between these 2 transients. So that's telescope warping. The next type of warping that I wanted to show you is accordion warping. Accordion warping is where you take and you have one loop marker and a piece of audio, and then you grab a transient to the right or left of that particular warp marker and you move it in and out. You can see the audio is expanding or contracting and it kind of looks like an accordion. So that's accordion warp. And obviously the audio will change, will speed up or slow down to fit within the time constraints that you have suggested because of the way you've moved your audio. So that's accordion warp. That could be useful if you were trying to keep a certain point exactly on a beat and bar location, but wanted the other audio to stretch around it. Again, these first 2, telescoping and accordion warping, I don't find as useful. The one that I really find useful is called range warping. The process of range warping, which I believe is the most useful type of warping, consists of placing 2 warp markers on either side of the data that you want to move, or the audio that you want to move. Much like taking a rubber band and tacking it on one end and on the other end so that it's, stationary, let's say on a board or a wall, and then grabbing the elastic or the rubber band in the middle and moving it left or right. When you move it left or right, the rubber band on either side of where your finger's grabbing is going to expand or contract. So if we grab 2 points here, so there's one pin and another pin that we placed in our rubber band. Now we can grab this point and we can move it left or right and place it wherever we deem necessary. And that's, I think, where they got the name elastic audio, because it very much resembles the action of a rubber band when you have pinned 2 points, the end points, down so that they can't move. So I find this very useful in quantizing or moving audio around. So if I decided, that point I want stationary, and this point I want stationary, but this one I want to move around, I certainly could do that because I got 2 points now, and I'm moving all the audio in between those points. You can also snap the audio to the grid, which is a great way to quantize audio or to fine-tune some of the audio that you may feel needs moving. Now remember, if you want a point to remain stationary, say you like the way this sounds being a little early, but this is a little, you would like it to be right on the beat, then you need to place a warp marker there before you move this. If you don't place the warp marker there and you try to move this, remember it's going to move the whole thing. So make sure you always place a point or a warp marker if you don't want the audio to move. So same thing, if I decided, I want that to be right on the beat and I want to move this a little earlier or later, then you'd have to place a marker there to keep it stationary. You can also delete markers by just selecting them, especially in the warp view here, and hitting backspace or delete. You can also quantize the audio by using warp markers. So you could select the audio or the clip that you want to quantize, and then go to Event, Operations, Quantize, and you could select the quantized grid value that you want, in this case 16th notes. You could also quantize it either to 100% or to a lesser percent if you still want to maintain some of the original feel, and then you could hit Apply. Pro Tools will look at the audio, place warp markers at every 16th note that it detects a transient, and then quantize that to the nearest grid value. That's how you can quantize using elastic audio. Okay, so I would encourage you to spend a little time playing around with warp markers and warping some audio clips. You can also change the pitch of an audio file or clip in Pro Tools on an elastic audio track. So let's talk about that as well. If you wanted to change the pitch of an individual clip, you can do that easily. It's in the same location, the Elastic Properties window, where we found the event confidence or event sensitivity. So if we right-click on a clip, we can go down to the Elastic Properties window. You can also access the Elastic Properties window from the Clip drop-down menu, Elastic Properties. Once you get there, you can enter the new pitch you would like that clip to be played at using semitones, so half-step increments. So if I want this to drop down, say 5 semitones minus 5 semitones, then I can listen to this. And then this one, do another 2. Then I want that one to be the same thing, so minus 7. And then we'll go back to the original tonic. let's see, I think it's 5 up. Okay, something like that. So you can see it's real easy to click on an audio clip and change the individual pitches of that clip. You can also change the pitch of a clip by selecting the clips you want to change and going up to Event, Event Operations, Transpose. And this will give you an option to transpose octaves or semitones or even keys if you like. Okay, so we've taken and transposed the audio on an elastic audio track, either by right-clicking, going to Elastic Properties, entering our new pitch value here, or by going up and selecting Clip and Elastic Properties, gets you the same window, or by selecting the audio that you want to transpose and going up to the Event drop-down menu, Event Operations, and Transpose. So 2 different ways to transpose your audio on an elastic audio track. We can also change or get rid of the changes that we've made to individual clips. We can select them all like this, and then we can go to our Elastic Properties window. Option 5 is the shortcut, and you can see it's given us an asterisk here saying there's multiple pitches because each clip has a different pitch. So we could just say 0 and enter, and now you'll see that each clip is back to no pitch changes. All of them are back to 0. So that's a real easy way to remove any pitch changes that you've made. One bit of information that's important to know is that for some reason, I don't understand, this is a technical reason I'm sure, but even though this was a bass part, and normally I would have that on monophonic, if I do that, the monophonic plugin or algorithm does not allow you to change the pitch. So I had to select the monophonic plugin for this bass sound in order to enable the pitch shift option to be available and not grayed out. So that's it for this tutorial on elastic audio. I hope you see that this is a tool that's very powerful and can be used to create some interesting effects and alter the audio that you're working on. Please take some time to sit down with some loops and manipulate them using elastic audio, both pitch and by manipulating the transients around to suit your needs. We'll see you on the next tutorial.